I often have daydreams where I make stories to tell myself something. And I imagine a man trying to reclaim innocence. What does it mean to lose innocence? That's what I was thinking. And as I was both the creator and the witness of this story I was playing out, I had, in a simple way, felt like God. I understood, watched it, even though I knew that I knew what I was making, I was also just a witness, as well as a participant. And I asked myself this fundamental question: what does it mean to lose innocence? And in that story, a man who had killed so many, but their motives had always stayed pure. When it was time, when he was passing down the torch, and someone was to reclaim, or not reclaim, to replace him as the killer, he had said that you would have to kill an innocent to ever be in the position that I am. And the first and only innocent that the replacer had chosen, he had turned the blade to that man. He had killed an innocent. What does it mean to be innocent? And can you reclaim innocence? Does blood ever wash away? That's what it was telling me. What does it mean? I think that I understood it as the creator, but also the witness. The pain. The man never seemed to waver, but wavered all the time, complained, but was always eerily silent. A contradiction, as I've always mentioned. It made me realize something. That we send boys to go become soldiers, to turn them into men, to go protect boys. I joined the military to stop others from joining the military. That was always my purpose. I was willing to lose my innocence so another was willing to have it. And in that, I had protected my own. I'm not willing, I was always timid and shy. But when someone else is in danger, I'm willing to stand up and speak. It's because I'm trying to protect my own. Because if I don't think that I can obtain it for myself and I can see it in others, then I say, then keep it. I'm a selfish man. I do not want to gaze upon my own beauty. I want to gaze upon another's. I think that's at least a semblance of what I've been getting at. I've been trying to put down my shoulders and take on less pain. I've been scared and absolutely mortified that I don't really get a rest or a break. I don't really get to feel like I choose to live. I feel like it's a force. Like there's not a way out. It feels like it's being taken so seriously. I often find that if something is taken too seriously, the biggest killer of a joke is when it's not so serious, but you're in a point when you want it to be serious. Racism has always been pinned as this joke. Like, what's the joke? The humor is that is always at the expense of another, punching down. But what if I wanted to be serious? Even just a little bit. The seriousness understood. I think that that's always what I've been fighting against as well. The absolute. Can a joke not be harmful as well? Can a joke not be painful? Why is a joke absolutely just that, a joke, something to be taken with full, complete humor? Why can't a story tell more than just one tale within its words or its context? Why does the meaning of anything have to just be specific? Yes, the sharpness of a blade is deadly. But I think that I fear the wielder as much as anything. Is it not the wielder's intent? What if the wielder was hungry? Is the foe that the wielder or the object that the wielder is swinging at not also due to cause harm? If you put a gun in the hands of a angry man, who do you fear more? A short-tempered man, let's say that. Who do you fear? Okay, let's change the man's nature. Let's say that the man isn't necessarily short-tempered, but doesn't listen. Or let's say that incompetent. I think that it would be better if he was surrounded by bulletproof glass, or if you were in a different building. You might be more amped to even taunt or retort, to talk with rationality, to give him patience, to tell him to put down the gun. You would look upon him and maybe say that he is the biggest danger to himself. But if a man was standing in front of you incompetent, wielding a gun at a gas station with fuel on the floor, well, would your tone, would your conversation be the same? I think that there are a lot of things that are disingenuous. I think I've spent not my entire life, but I've spent a lot of time being in a disgenuine situation where people don't really want to fight for freedom. They want to fight for their ability to hold the whip. That they're not truly trying to resolve the problems. They're just trying to get something else out of it. That we come to a different set. I think that I'm scared that I'm not going to be able to live. That I am going to find peace after I'm gone, as others had to do. But maybe it's time that I didn't have to do that. Be aware of the lessons and then avoid the issues. I'm tired of the story telling the same tale where it's a cautionary tale, but no one learned any lesson. No one got the lesson. No one got it right. I feel like perhaps I can be, I feel like I can be that person. Yeah, I know that I will die to something. I know that there's something that I did not see or would be something that I already knew was long-standing and would eventually get me. But what about 1 year of life? 1 year. I couldn't be upset with that if I had 1 year truly functionally living life. And if I could do it 1 year, and I could figure out how to replicate it to make it 2, even if I didn't live that second year, I would have been happy knowing that I could have. I did the right things. I knew a good way to live. I knew a way that would make me content for the most part. I knew, and I got to apply it. but I don't. That's what I'm frustrated about. I never get to really apply it. I talk about it. I know about it, but I have to beg and plead when I don't and when I shouldn't. I'm not bowing my head. I shouldn't have to bow my head to anyone. What have you earned? What respect have you do you deserve from me to bow my head to you? I can, I will, if I feel that you are deserving of it. But this entitlement, and sometimes the entitlement that people will complain and blare and look at you and tell their woes. And they'll know that every day in your life, you'll be marked. The society that you've lived in has always been against you. I've always heard how, like, everyone comprehends, everyone that I've ever met has comprehended racism. And yet, because they've grown attuned to racism, they believe that that me changing it and trying to equal it out is oppressive. That I'm being too forceful. That I'm undeserving. That I'm not that person. That they believe that I should wait in the back of the line. They know that racism exists, the prejudice. But my stories are not actually, they're heard, but they're not comprehended. Like, my fear is not justified, my anger, my pain. I think that it makes me, it puts me in a position where I have to be my own hero. And I don't think that there's heroes. I think that there's just people. But I think that I figured it out. I can't really get myself out of this situation. And not like I turned to Jesus. I can't get myself out of this position because I didn't put myself in it. I become so hyper independent that I finally realized that there's not a way out of this. Not by myself. Like, I've always relied on others doing what they needed to do and then barely escaping. Or taking bits of me, giving it to others, and then saying, okay, now give it back. And I had to wrestle and fight and sometimes lose so much. It wasn't fair. And they're losing out because, like, even my place in the world. I'm draining myself to be a part of the world, and I'm doing it out of absolute love. When I go, you probably won't think twice about it, but you will know about it. You won't know my name because you won't know that I existed because I had died. You will say, I wish someone, and replace someone with my name, and that is who you would find would have probably fit, no, not probably, would have fit that position. You've taken men and women and children out of positions and roles and filled it with nobody and anybody in particular. You say somebody, but not the name of the person that it would fit. You had made it blank. The true pain in the world is knowing that you don't know. And then seeing someone or hearing someone that could have, that should have, and probably was the right person. But they're not here. Instead, we replace it with the same 7 people because we know their names. And the name fits, a name fits. but eventually you grow tired. You grow tired of reusing the same names. They grow tired. Filling the same slots. You yearn for something new, but you don't know what you exactly yearn for. So you get clones and copies and AI-generated tales. You get people that say the same things, that look the same way. You yearn for something different, but you're scared to actually do something different. So what you do is you might wear blacken your hair and wear piercings and claim the name of alt. But your mind, your body is still the same way. You have to make sure that it looks pristine. You have to make sure that you still garner all the attention. You gotta make sure that you are the center of attention. You didn't change anything. You didn't stop fascism. You were a punk, but you didn't change anything. You got to rebel and express and get angry and physically show out, but you still had the privileges, the access. You didn't truly cut them off. And when you do a extreme, what you did was, I cut it off. See, guys, and you say, you could have brought that food to us. You could have brought the water to us. Instead, because of yourself, because you thought only of yourself, you cut it off so you didn't feel like a poser. That is the realm of the world that I see. I sit there and I go, if I had those resources, would I do the same? I stop and ask myself this question. I keep hurting myself. Or maybe I'm still getting hurt. And I said, with all this knowledge that I have, I'm still getting hurt. I want to pursue knowledge, but I want to pursue knowledge that I actually want to pursue. Maybe now I know a thing or two. Maybe I'm not so dumb as everyone else thought I was going to be. I don't know where to go. I'm living day by day, but maybe it would be nice not to live minute by minute. Maybe going back to living day by day was okay. Because my white counterparts, they don't understand how every second feels like an agony, where you turn your head, where one moment will be your end, and people will walk past you, your body. But it's not just you. The relief that you want with that's something that they don't get. You know that you were barely holding on, barely holding up, and without you gone, that all of your family is going to go with you in some way. That you're fighting. Maybe they don't all die, but you know that they're going to suffer, and they're going to miss out on experiences, or they're going to come to conclusions that are given, that are easy. They'll become ignorant. I'd rather have my children dead than ignorant, but how many do you walk around? You feed a person paint chips and then wonder why their brain processes like that, and you still have the gall to act morally upright. They don't have any allies. It's an anger. It's a low frequency rumble, but it can't even go up anymore. The muscles don't have the strength. I watch the social media, the influencers, the icons, all of this, and they will do the controversy, and people will be angry and want revenge, but they don't want justice. Justice is not revenge. They'll cancel, or they'll chase the person away, or they'll demand that we educate them. But what about yourself? Are you sure that you can view it for yourself? Are you sure of yourself and you're morally upright? I go to church, or I don't believe in this. But what can you say about yourself that you can say with confidence? Can you walk through a place and not get angry or upset? And if I call you out on it, how many people have that strength? There are places that I know I don't have that strength, so I might venture, I learn, and I try to confront it until I have that strength. And sometimes I have to walk away from a place for a long time and come back and say, now I've gained that strength elsewhere. But for me, I'm running out of places to run. Running out of places where I can go to learn, and I'm stuck. I'm stuck. Just, I feel like I'm not there. I haven't learned everything, but I feel like I know too much in this place, and I'm itching and raving to get out. That I'm trying to get into that place. I'm actually succeeding in that, but realizing that I can't really truly get unchained by it. That I'm begging and demanding, that I'm truly afraid, that I'm hoping these things pop off just so someone can just give me the financial security, just so I can experience something else, just so I can figure it out for someone else. I would free myself so I can free others, just so I can remain free. For there is no better freedom than the one shrouded by others. See, black people who have their freedom papers back in chattel slavery times were a big target. It was hard. Boy, you never want to outshine the master, even in the 48 Rules of Power. Being too elegant, too open, too intelligent, people would see that, they would steal your papers, and you would go into chattel slavery, enslaved, even though you had the right documentation, because the system is not made flawless. It was made to, make sure things ran. It kept the people in power that they wanted to be in power, and it allowed enough people to be satisfied. It allowed for emotion to live and breathe, but only so much so that it could still be controlled. It was newer back then. But there was no freedom. There was no true freedom for the black people with their papers, which is what I am. I am a coon that tap dances and dresses up nice, articulate, but I know when to not speak. I cannot speak the way that my mother or father, in the meaning of my ancestors, had spoken. I have to speak the language of someone else instead of the language that I prefer to speak in. And then I do it so often that I'm not sure which language is actually native to me, which one I know, and which one was forced upon me. I'm deeply disturbed and saddened. I do this for a survival that I was told to do for some reason. My ancestors said, live, just simply live. And I'm forced to rediscover all of them. I think that every story that I see is not me making it. It is them living through me. telling me of their own lives, even though I cannot remember their face nor their name. Every time I see a character, I see myself, but it's not me. It is someone who could look like me, but it's not me. And I'm filled with great sadness. A part of me wants to die, and I think that's them. The tiredness. They want to just rest. But there's the young me, there's the me, there's the that is fighting for their right to live. They do not hate that part of the sadness. They do not hate that they want to live, that they want to tell their tales. They are in pain for having all this burden, but no place that I have to hold it for a single moment more. The anxiety, the depression that I will die and I will have to pass on to another, that they would do this to another. The guilt, the shame. But they know it must be done. They can't rest. And I cannot rest until I have done that. And I've been doing that. I've been showing them. I've been existing. I've been proving them proud. And those souls, day by day, they sleep. They become quieter and quieter. I no longer can ignore them, and losing them has been incredibly painful. But as they go, then I start to wonder, who am I? Who was I in the beginning? And as I discover myself again, as I live again, as I find myself happy, I find the problems that they were warning me about. And I ask them, what is the solution? And they say, we don't know. That was our warning. That's why we stayed back. We could have gone. We could have left you. That's why I say my white counterparts do not have the ancestors. For there is no answer to give them other than the ones that they had done in their life. There was no problem. So do what I taught you to do, and that will always work. But for us, we had learned to survive an inch and keep going and progress. A will, a desire that was so enforcing, impactful, burning, pains that knew that it was not only a drive to survive, a drive to thrive, to live, to truly and properly live the way that we should. They had known the others that had been fooled by thinking that they would be, that being in the house is freedom. For it made no difference from the black man with freedom papers and the black man who was enslaved inside the house, or black women, whatever. They were two sides of the same coin. Still under the oppressive boot, they were not free. Unless they fought for someone else's freedom, they were not free. They knew that within this realm and within this scope, they would not deal with punishments, but they were not free. Because hiding, the best place to hide is hiding in plain sight. The best time to make content, the best time to become a celebrity is when there are so many celebrities there. Because anything else, you might need a time or a break. When you isolate and then want to perform, and while you're aware and while you're awake and while you're rested, it's great to bask in this limelight, but eventually you will get tired. But if you are the only source of content, people will demand it from you. People will tear you down if you're not doing your obligation. And you can try to pin it as you guys are mean and bully them, and people will stop and hesitate. But how many times will that work until people start to become colder and say, no, since you're the only one there, then perform, then dance. How humiliating it is, how shameful, how boring it would be. And then when people say, okay, give them a break, a long break, and you get it, and you realize that you are nothing, that big house that you hold, it is nothing, that you have no friends, that you cannot speak to anybody, you cannot tell them the truth, you cannot get this weight, this shame, this guilt. You drink, you smoke, but you don't really realize what's going on. You're not aware, you're not knowledgeable of the unknown. You do not know what you do not know. You don't even know that what could cure your feeling. What would actually make you feel better. You just know that you don't feel good, and simply looking or investigating into it might kill you because it would take too much time. But you don't want to say that it's a lost cause. You don't want to say that the building needs to be condemned. No, you simply say, patch it up until next time. I'll pay the money. The foundation cracked and broken. That is why mansions always end up discarded. It was lush when it was taken care of. It was lush when it had the money. But there was a reason why it was useless. The bugs, the roaches, do not care about your wealth. The ground does not care that you plant money in it and to hide it. It will rot it just the same. You'll sit there your entire life unaware of what could cure you of this ailment, and you will die a ridiculous death because it was so in your face. But because you could not take a step back from yourself to look outward, to bend, to just look down, or just look up, you had failed to see what was going to kill you. I think that's me. I know what's going to kill me. In any way, I know it takes different forms, but it's the same thing. I know what will kill me, what is killing me, how I'll die. It seems morbid, but the truth is that it's gotten to a point where it's fine. I don't know when it's going to kill me, but I know that's what's going to kill me. I say this is what's going to kill me. I've made my peace with it, so I do what I do. I write a book. I drink water. I go on a walk. I smell the trees. I engage in things, but I do not take things too seriously because I know at the end of the day, this will kill me. And because no one seems to care if I say, I know exactly what will kill me. They'll say, I'm mad, I'm crazy. Or they'll believe me, but then they'll have a conversation like, is this true? Do you want to hear that? Well, what do you think will kill you? But I'm also, again, not taken seriously. Only those that take themselves serious, but that take themselves serious enough. I stress home the point of taking yourself serious does not remove the humor. I'm like, this sounds crazy. That's what you say when you're adding humor. This will sound crazy. Of course it will, because it is crazy. It's a little funny when you look at it in a morbid type of way. A dark humor. Everything always has humor. But more importantly, it's not. It's serious. It doesn't ever take away from the seriousness. It just also has humor in it. Like a smoothie or a blend of food. What does a burger taste like? if I make you a burger with tomatoes and lettuce and a wheat bun, are you going to say, no, that's not a burger. A burger is just the meat. No, it's the combination of the sauce, the meat, the cheese, the vegetables, or lack thereof, depending on what type of person you are. But you can taste the combination of flavors, but they're not overpowering. Cooking is, life. It is life. It doesn't mimic it, it is. I know it might sound like the babblings of a madman. And maybe it is. No, I think it is. I don't want to beg for money. I was willing to do that, but now I know that even begging is not going to do it, so I demand it. I demand it out. Because it's not about the money. You want the adventure? I sit there and said I will give you exactly what you want. I think that's the the most exciting thing. You want to be the savior? You want to be the white savior? Then I will give you the one-to-one instructions on how to be. You want to actually truly absolve yourself and free yourself, and I'm going to figure it out and give you that truth. And you'll say, why? When you could do it yourself. Because the truth is, I can't. I can't do what you do. I can't. I don't think black people will ever defeat white supremacy. Because it's not a battle for us to defeat. I can't defeat the hate that you have within yourself. Martin Luther King or others that seem to quote or try to view his works, I say the thought process is looking at white people as an object, that their hearts are for us to change, to plead, to beg for their humanity. I cannot beg for another's humanity. I can only simply reinforce my own. If you were going to kill me, you're going to kill me regardless. I could speak to you, but I won't implore you to now act upon your humanity, your brain, your thinking. No, I'm going to simply state my case on why you should not do it, why I would like to live. But if you say, no, I want to continue to live and then continue to do the bad things, of course, kill me then. Because if you're going to change the course of my life, force me to be something that I don't want to be, then kill me. Do I want to die? No. But you'll never live. You'll sit there, and even if you never go to jail, you'll sit there always empty, always harming, always taking, but never giving. And with that, you'll never really truly receive. You'll never get the gift of giving or knowing what it feels like to pass down anything important. You'll never really get to move on. Because you'll hoard and hoard and hoard and have all this stuff because you can't ever really get away. And you think, well, that's okay, I like that. And it sounds great when you're in a room filled with gold and jewels, but most times it's just trash. What happens when metals rust? What happens when a car can be fixed, but you don't have the tools to actually fix it? You gain the tools, but you don't have the skills. You have the skills of a thief, but you don't have the skills of an auto mechanic. You can't steal experience. You don't know how to do that. So you have these things, have all the tools, yet you do not have the knowledge to actually use them, nor the experience. I will not save anyone. I will not stop white supremacy because it's not for me to stop. For me, my job, I think that's always been the effect that people have, that I think people have tried to put on you. You got to look within yourself. Do you see me as a person? Are you willing to stop and listen? Are you willing to put yourself in that reflective mirror? Because if you're not, if you're genuinely, if you say yes, 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 then I'll ask you for examples. And when you say those examples, do you say them with confidence? Do you, I like to come with evidence. I like to come correct, but I also like speaking with people and having those connections. If you do not take my word for it, which I can understand because it's a biased perspective, can I call multiple friends? Can I have witnesses attest to me or for me on my behalf? And it's not just one. I don't need simply just one. I will say that I can provide I can provide you the names of anyone. In fact, I don't have to do anything. I'm not going to sit there in court and get accused. Speak to anyone that knows me. Ask them my name. Go meet with them, eat with them, sleep with them, see what characters they are and how they exist. All of them are trusted friends. All of them are good people. If you're good people and a good character, then I'll send you to them and I want you to engage with them. But if you do not show some more, if you're not a moral good character, you will never be able to truly test or see anybody else. You won't see my friends as good people because they will not see you as a good person or a person that you should deal with. They will see you as an oppressive, an object to convince, to appease. But if you say, hey, listen, my friend, you do not believe in me or my actions, that is fine. Then be around me. Hang around me and come to the conclusion when you feel like that conclusion, when you feel that my words are honest. That will take 3 years. Then 3 years it shall be. For I would, I'm speaking for myself, but I would spend those 3 years to make sure I didn't make an innocent man go to jail for the rest of his life. There's no job worth my soul. And if you cannot, maybe with us working together, we find a simpler way. Or maybe a more efficient way. But I will not sit there and beg not to be accused in an oppressive and a biased and a clearly corrupted form and system. And then when I barely escape, I'm still not ever sure. I'm paranoid. I'm traumatized. I will always be afraid that I'll slip up. The good actions that I've done, I'll be afraid to do them again. For if you take a good man out of his flow and say that he's doing something wrong, then he will always look at what he is doing. And sure, maybe you would pay attention to his work, and maybe for the first week it would make a higher production, but ultimately he will become too timid, too tired, and instead of letting his body figure it out naturally, they'll just grow to ignore, to hyper-focus, to not consolidate their power, time, or energy. They will make the world worse because maybe they'll be very great and they'll be very good at this one task. Very good. But maybe they were not meant to be as good in that one task forever. As an employee might eventually turn into a manager. They have to gain the skills and understand what they're talking about, but maybe their body physically is not there to live in that way. I think that it is important, it is crucial, it is needed to reflect upon yourself. I'm troubled. I'm troubled and exhausted. I make this. I'm not sure where to go. I'm not sure who to trust. I'm not sure what to do. It goes back into my head. I want to try things, but I don't know. I can't even be a juvenile. I can't reclaim anything. And it goes back to what I was originally thinking, the innocence. You want innocence to come back. You want your own innocence. You want redemption and reform. But you're not willing to. When I had my chance, you say, no, I deserve it first. I'm front in line. You will have to try again. Maybe I had tried and failed. But maybe I didn't lose. Maybe you had lost your innocence much later than I lost it. Maybe I gained it back, lost it, gained it back, and maybe I got in line before you. But you said, I seen you go 3 times. Well, pray for me the 4th. Maybe you only have to do it once. But you look at it like, no, it's equal turns. So because you went 4 times, you'll have to wait until the people the first time have had their shot. But I got in line before you. That's not how it works. I make the rules. And in that, that was your time to regain your innocence. See, the innocence might not have been when you actually were the front of the line. Maybe it's the delusion. What is the line? When do you get it? When do you start? When do you start being? You always are. But you think that you are revolutionary the moment that you it's signed to join a group, that you had bought the posters, you bought the hats, the clothes. You think that you're only a tyrant when you had finally put on the armband and you had hit the salute. No, you were a fascist long before that. You had simply just gone into the most recognizable form. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution of one's mind. But you think that okay, I think, so there I have to act in this manner. But that is when you find that there are rotten or spoiled apples into that bunch. It is not for you to ignore that, to say, hey, maybe, quite possibly, I should find a way to keep fresher apples. You'll say, but I don't know of a way. Well, we'll try to create a way. And yes, inevitably, you might find that your way has its downfalls too. Like how getting clean water from everyone. That sounds great. It's like, okay, how do we produce clean water? Water bottles were a great invention. They found a way to get drinkable water to multiple people. It's still a very great use now. But the microplastics had you become aware. The same as asbestos. It did what it needed to do. It kept people alive. It kept people functional. But when we had been aware of the drawbacks, mass aware, maybe not the companies, but the people, it was our job to say, okay, what is now a new pliable solution? We had extended life 20 years, but now we might not be able to, like, we're now decreasing life. Can we go back to a tactic? Do we go forward with a tactic? What is the initiative? Who has the most to gain from continuing this? And maybe we should not allow them to speak first. I think that too many times when a case is made, you want to hear, you say it's 2 sides. But 2 sides makes a line, it is this and it's that. But I say that you should listen first to those affected. before you listen to those that are suing and those that are being sued. You should listen to the words of the victims, of the not victims, but those that are affected, to have enough to lose or to gain. The honesty, the understanding. There's always something to be gained with hearing sympathy or putting false victims, but hear words of those that are connected but don't even know they are connected. And watch how a man's ignorance of the events can lead them to even side with their oppressor. Watch them as they can even hold the whip and whip their own children before the oppressor. That madness should be talked about. It should be shown. But people don't believe themselves victims. They don't want to. Like a victim does not want to be a victim. Nobody wants to be a victim. A victim is always trying to strive to get out of that victimhood. But when you accept that you are a victim, but you no longer want to be, that is the first step. But it's acknowledging that they were a victim, that they are and were, that they're still affected by what has happened, is where we need to be at. Accepting reality, that they can be multiple things. They still are forever coming, but not to ignore what was done. Instead of trying to falsely move on, we need to properly move on. Instead of trying to make new words, we must reclaim the words and their meanings and their understandings in the first place. To accept a definition and grow with new words. To say that they can be and exist. That definitions and words do change. But when we know the power of the weight of the words, then we are accepting that. If words constantly change, then we change, then we update them to still have the most powerful meaning that they're supposed to have. So even if the word changes, it's lit, or it's cool, it's amazing, or that's wow, that's so wow, wowzers. Then we change it. Even if it looks goofy, change it. Sub it out. But do not have a falsehood of the words and have it so convoluted. Ambiguous, sure, but convoluted, no. All of that being said, I am done.